And welcome to Beaver Politics. We're going to go through what's been going on in Canada. We're going to go through what's been going on in the States today. Please, if you're here, tapping is clapping, sharing is caring. It's really going to help us get this live out to more people. Also, please help us reach our gift goal if you can. If not, just tap, 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 share, share, share. That's awesome. I'm just going to share it here real quick again with a couple of people, and then I will get going and we'll start chatting. All right. Hopefully it doesn't go away anymore. All right. So let's talk about what's been going on in Canada. Let's start there because that's where our focus should be in the beginning. And I think I want to start with talking about the Ontario election because that's what everybody in Canada is talking about right now. It is what is going on with Ontario, what is going on with the fact that Doug Ford is still looking like he's going to win in the polls. I mean, this is a guy who was tough on Trump for like 2 to 3 days and then just turned around and quickly reverted back to pandering. And people are still somehow thinking that he's going to be tough on Trump. So I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on in Ontario. This guy has decimated their health care. I don't understand why people would still vote for him. But they did a debate yesterday. Show me in the comments who watched the debate. Who watched the debate? Did any of you guys watch it? I know that there was a couple of Canadian political commentators and independent journalists who were sharing it live yesterday, I think it was. Okay, yeah, so some people here definitely watched the debate. How did you guys feel about the debate? Did you feel like Doug Ford did a good job? Yeah, no, it was odd. It was odd to watch that debate and to see anybody say that he did a good job when he didn't answer any of the questions straight on. But it was a pretty heated 90-minute debate. The four party leaders were there. So Doug Ford, Bonnie Crombie, who's a Liberal, Merritt Stiles, who's an NDP, and Mike Schreiner. I think I'm saying it wrong. Am I saying it right or wrong? Schreiner? Let me know in the comments if I'm saying it right or wrong. Is it Schreiner or Schreiner? Option 1 or option 2? Schreiner, okay. So yeah, I think he did a great job. Honestly, I love the way that he answered things in the debate, but it is the Green Party, so it's not like they have a chance, but he did really well in my opinion. But they definitely clashed over key issues like healthcare, affordability, housing, public safety, and Ford faced a lot of criticism. Give me a second here, guys. For some reason, every time I touch this headphone, it starts music and the app is not even on, so I don't exactly know what happens there, but I'm going to stop touching this earpiece and hopefully it doesn't fall out. But as I was saying, they definitely clashed over really big key issues, right? Healthcare affordability, housing, and public safety. Ford faced some pretty sharp criticism for his handling on healthcare, with Crombie accusing him of failing to fix the system and Stiles highlighting the rising costs and the housing and affordability under his leadership. And Schreiner, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but you know who I'm talking about, Green Party leader. He criticized Ford's environmental policies, obviously being the Green Party leader, and subsidies for private projects like the Ontario Place Spa. Ford defended his record on infrastructure and job creation, but struggled to counter any of the other claims that his policies have, actually worsened affordability and healthcare access for most people in Ontario. And the opposition leaders argued that Ford's tenure has left Ontarians struggling with high costs, inadequate services, and a lack of accountability, and obviously making the case that he doesn't deserve this re-election. But it's really sad that Ontario seems like they're going to vote him in anyway. So I keep having hope. I saw in the polls today, in the recent polls, the Liberals were climbing a little bit, but they're still a couple of points away from Conservatives. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but I'm praying. I know that it might be a lost cause, but I am praying that Doug Ford is not the Premier of Ontario while Trump is in his 4 years down in the United States, because having him and Danielle Smith as premiers pandering to Trump during this administration is beyond scary for what that can mean for Canadians, especially in those two provinces. So if you are in Ontario, please, 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 for the love of God, go talk to your friends, go talk to your family, talk to your neighbors, talk to people at the grocery store, like do whatever you can. You guys have about a week or two. February 27th, we're in the 18th, so we've got 9 days. Not even 2 weeks, 9 days. So talk to everyone you know. If you live in an apartment building and you see, people in the elevator with you, talk to them about it. Just get them to know that a vote is coming up, because this is what happens with these really short election periods. And what I see happen kind of all over Canada all the time when it comes to provincial elections, people have no clue that it's happening. People have no clue what's going on. I've been caught off guard here in BC, and all of a sudden I find out, oh my gosh, there's an election in 10 days. I didn't even know. It's happened to me before, not so much in my older years because I've been way more politically involved. But when I was younger, provincial elections always caught me off guard. So one of the things that I want you guys to do if you are from Ontario is please, please, please talk to everyone you know. Even like call up old friends and stuff, people that you haven't seen in a while. Reach out to people. I'm not on Meta anymore, but if you guys are on Meta, if you are on Facebook, share it, tell people about it, send some mass messages, but get the information out there, because I don't think a lot of Ontarians know that this election is actually happening. So that's something to watch out for. People are always more involved in the federal elections, because we know about it and it's in the news so much, people understand that, hey, it's coming soon. But when an election is sprung up like this and all of a sudden it's boom, it's happening in 3 weeks, it really doesn't give the opposition time to prepare properly. And of course, people just don't know that it's happening. So very important. All right, let's move on. So Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly actually wrapped up her trip in Europe by warning Canada's allies about the challenges Canada is facing with the U.S., like the threats of tariffs and even jokes about annexing Canada, which are not jokes. We know this. Our premiers know this. Our prime minister knows this. We all know it, right? It's not a joke. But she met with leaders in France and Germany and Belgium, and they were discussing working together on trade and protecting jobs and boosting security and defense cooperation. And Joly made it clear to the United States officials that Canada takes its independence very seriously and will not tolerate disrespectful comments about us becoming part of the U.S. And she also shut down the idea of letting Russia back into the G7 group, standing firm on Canada's position since Russia's takeover of Crimea in 2014. And I'm going to get into some more discussions about Russia later on in this live, but for now, at least our, defense minister went and talked on our behalf and said all the right things. Now, let's talk about this one, because this happened on Canadian soil, and I think pretty much everybody that's here is going to know about it. But the Delta Airlines plane crash. It was carrying 80 people. It crashed and flipped upside down while landing at Toronto's Pearson International Airport on Monday. It injured around 18 people, but thankfully everybody survived. Hopefully those 18 people that were really badly injured, I'm hoping that they make it okay. I don't really know about any specifics of their injuries, but I know some of them were very, very injured. So I'm hoping that everybody's going to be okay. The flight was arriving from Minneapolis, and it may have been affected by a fuel leak and strong winds, which experts say could have caused the plane to catch on fire and flip over. Passengers described a hard landing, an explosion, and a chaotic evacuation, with some hanging upside down in the seats before escaping. But the truth is that aviation experts are still investigating to figure out the source of the crash. We don't 100% know yet. So again, it could have been that the airplane coming from the United States wasn't inspected properly, since Trump has fired hundreds of U.S. control workers, which their job would be to inspect the plane and make sure that everything's okay. It could have been the weather, maybe. I just find it odd that this is the fifth plane crash in the last month. since Trump started firing all of the U.S. air control staff. So I have no idea. I have no idea exactly what caused it. We won't know until that investigation is fully done. But I do find it odd that it was an American airliner. I just find it odd. I have a feeling like something was not checked properly in America before the plane took off. Again, right, if it was a fuel leak, that's something that they should have caught. But who knows? Who knows? I'm going to talk about that later once we actually have the investigation, once we know exactly what's happening. Somebody asked who's modding. Yeah, I don't know, because I definitely don't have the time to do it. So if anybody's here that's a Beaver, if anybody's here that has moderator capabilities, please mod. Okay, perfect. Perfect. I haven't seen any crazy comments so far, but maybe you guys are catching them before I am. All right, next up on our list of talking points, the Conservative Party. You can, if you guys follow me on my main account, Frontline Feminist, you probably saw the breakdown that I did of the Conservative Party email that went out to talk about the policies that Pierre brought up at the, it makes me sick to say this, but the Canada First rally that he led on Saturday, which looked like such a copycat of all of the America First rallies in the United States. But yeah, honestly, it's mind-blowing to me that this guy campaigned on Canada's broken, Canada's broken, Canada's broken for months, for years, really. I mean, since the Freedom Convoy, I would say. And all of a sudden now he's trying to unite Canadians and saying that he's going to fight back against Trump when he was the last one to even talk about it, when he was just silent for, you know, the first little bit of the annexation threats. But it was, yeah, he sent out a policy email that basically outlined the proposed plans if elected. And I'm just going to summarize what I put in my video on my page. If you want to see a more detailed version of it, you can go check it out later. But it included measures like imposing retaliatory tariffs on the U.S., fast-tracking pipeline approvals, green-lighting the Ring of Fire mining project, militarizing the Arctic, and removing interprovincial trade barriers. Now, of course, like the Conservatives always do, they say these things and then there's no actual plan to back any of them up. And already some of them sound like they could be good, but they could also be really bad, right? Because these policies, right, they aim to boost the economy and national security, but they raise some significant concerns for many Canadians. And what I'm arguing is that these proposals could actually escalate trade wars if not done properly. They could harm the environment, violate Indigenous rights, and prioritize corporate interests over public welfare like we know that they like to do. And additionally, of course, cutting taxes was a big thing in there. They had to sneak in all kinds of ways where they were going to cut taxes, right? Remove GST on homes, militarized border. So again, the whole militarization of the border part, it sounded very intense. Like, we already increased our border spending. We already agreed to do that back in December. And the way that he's talking about it very much sounded very, very similar to how Trump sounds when he's talking about their southern Mexico border. He sounded like that, but talking about our border in Canada, which I found strange and very much copycat. But again, all of these things could just exacerbate inequality, inflate housing prices, target marginalized communities. And overall, the policies appear to favor economic growth and resource extraction at the expense of social equity, environmental sustainability, and Indigenous reconciliation. And obviously, it makes them quite unpopular with those of us that don't think that way and don't want to see those things happen. So let me know in the comments if you guys have looked or if you guys watched. I know that it was hard to stomach for some of us to watch that Canada First rally, but I know, again, there was a lot of streamers that were streaming it. I watched it too, and the entire thing felt like I was watching a Trump rally, like a Canadianized version of it. But again, very nationalistic messaging throughout the entire thing. Let's see, what are you guys saying about it? I watched it. It was gross. Totally. Because it all comes with the cuts of our programs. Yep. That's exactly what I was saying too, is that it's like, how are you going to do these things? Some of them sound like good ideas, but they're vague. How are you actually going to do them? How are you going to fast track pipelines, for example, without damaging the environment or without violating Indigenous rights? I mean, if he specified that and had some good answers for that, that would be great. But it's always vague. It's always just what people want to hear without any explanation of how it's actually going to be done. I read the transcript, caught some clips, but too cringy. He, of course, resorted to Trudeau bad. Yeah, of course. We knew that was going to happen, though. That was no surprise. Like, no surprise. You know, he's replacing Trudeau now with Carney, or talking about Trudeau anyway, but, like, it's all the same stuff. It's the same stuff we've been hearing for the last 2 years. He does look awkward when he tries to smile. I think he looked a little nervous. He's been looking nervous a lot lately. He said he was going to be tough in one breath and then said we needed to strengthen ties. Yeah, see, again, he contradicted himself. That's right, Miss Lotus Lady. He contradicted himself throughout that entire rally. Like, it was just constant contradictions. It was like, we got to be tough on Trump, but maybe we shouldn't be because that might be bad for us, so we should actually just pander to him instead. That was the gist of that rally. It was so much hypocrisy. Maple MAGA is mind-blowing. They see daily the outlandish evil in the U.S. Yeah, but they're cheering for it, right? Think about how many of these guys are thinking that. I mean, the conservative take is that when we say things like Trump is a dictator, they go, no, Justin Trudeau's a dictator. You guys are actually the dictator. The whole world's corrupt. Trump's just exposing the corruption. We need somebody strong like that. So they're either siding with him, like the Conservative Party on its own right now is split, right? And they believe two different set of lies, right? One of them is like, Trump's good. We don't mind becoming the 51st state. That's great, right? And then the other half of the Conservative Party is like, Trump's bad. But Trudeau's also bad, and Pierre is actually the hero that's going to help us fight this, whatever this is, with Trump and the United States. So their own party is kind of breaking apart from that perspective because you have two very different types of ideologies now, right? Half of them hate Trump but think Poilievre is the savior, and then half of them like Trump and want Poilievre because he's going to be like Trump. And, you know, I've been in a lot of different lives with Americans, with conservative Canadians, and I heard a lot from Canadians and from Americans that now they're joking about like, oh, let's call Pierre the governor of the 51st state. So there's definitely a chunk of these conservatives that want that to happen, which is absolutely crazy. But there's definitely half of them that don't. And those ones are the ones that need to wake up to the fact that if they elect Poilievre, then it has a much higher chance of happening than if we were under any of the other leadership in Canada. Like, I'm not even saying Liberal necessarily, but any of the other leaders in Canada would never let that happen. Yeah, reminder, tapping is clapping. Thank you so much. Share, tap, anything that you guys can. Thank you. Yeah, so again, crazy. This is something that I actually wanted to bring up with you guys today because I feel like it really hasn't gotten any airtime. I haven't seen any other creators talk about it. I haven't even done a video on it myself. I just found this out earlier today, but I wanted to bring it up in our show tonight. Trump's government, so the U.S. government scientists are now facing severe restrictions, including bans on international travel, virtual meetings, and collaboration with Canadian counterparts, which is disrupting critical research on shared issues like climate change, the Great Lakes, and Arctic security. And Canadian researchers, like the ecologist Aaron Fisk, have seen their US-funded projects frozen and communication with American colleagues grind to a halt, jeopardizing decades of cross-border scientific cooperation. Many Canadians view these changes as part of Trump's broader attack on science, which not only undermines global progress, but also threatens Canada's ability to address environmental and public health challenges. So while some hope that this could attract U.S. scientists to Canada, the overall sentiment is frustration and concern over the U.S. abandoning its leadership role in science, leaving Canada and the world to deal with the fallout. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because we know that scientists and intellectuals are being shut down in the United States. But to find out that now they're being completely cut off from being able to access decades worth long of research that they've been doing with Canadian scientists, especially on climate change, is very frightening. It's frightening. It's crazy, especially if we stop talking to each other about things like not even just climate change, but like diseases, right? They're having, like, the bird flu is kind of getting out of control. We have no idea what's going to happen. But if we shut down communications between doctors and scientists, and we're so close to them, that's very scary. My son has his PhD in science in Canada. Things are bad down there. Yeah, exactly. Very likely, if the scientists do not migrate out of the U.S., that they will be not allowed to continue. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, they're being shut down left, right, and center right now in the States. No communication. I heard U.S. women doctors are looking to migrate to Canada. Yeah, I read that too, especially all the women doctors that want to make sure that they can perform life-saving ABs on women that need it. So we'll take your scientists, we'll take your doctors. That's okay. We'll take them. Yeah, let's see what's going on in the comments. What a better way to hide facts. Thousands can unalive and no one would know. Yep, it's getting pretty insane. It's getting pretty insane down there. That's for sure. But it is going to impact us, right? So that's why I wanted to bring it up, because if our scientists don't have communication with their scientists anymore, it's not looking good for us either. Hopefully they move here. But as I said, they are being banned right now from international travel, some of them. So, banned from travel. So that's kind of horrifying. Yeah, they're having to review articles to ensure they don't align with DEI. It's just crazy. Yeah, so if you guys want, you can look into that more on your own, but definitely something to watch out for. All right, now let's keep that. The last point I wanted to make before we kind of switch on and start talking about what's been going on in the States, even though I know that related to the States, but it's affecting Canada, is this whole claim that the Cheeto Man will not stop spouting off that US subsidizes Canada by hundreds of billions of dollars. Like, it's complete garbage, and our own conservatives are now running with those numbers, which are completely incorrect. It's honestly really infuriating to see him push this agenda, because the reality is that the US has about $63 billion trade deficit with Canada because they benefit from our affordable resources like aluminum and energy, which help the economy run more efficiently. At the end of the day, this deficit, this horrible deficit, it's because we only have 40 million people versus 350 million in the States. So we produce more than we can actually consume, and it makes sense to sell it to who used to be our closest ally for a cheaper price. So again, he is using these tactics to brainwash his own sympathizers and brainwash conservative Canadians into thinking that somehow we can't live without them and that we're not being fair to them. Like, some of the conservative lives that I get into are just, like, you have Canadian people talking about us not being a good ally to them. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy that Canadians have been able to be brainwashed into thinking that somehow America is who we want to be like and emulate. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. But, you know, Trump's numbers, they range anywhere from 100 billion to 250 billion because he can't even keep track of his own numbers. He can't stick to his own lies. But they're just fear-mongering. They're all fear-mongering to justify his whole, like, America First nonsense and paint Canada as the problem. And it's never been about fairness. It's never been about the deficit. It's about him just trying to bully Canada for his own political gain while ignoring how much of while ignoring how much they actually rely on us. And our government is not to blame here. I know you're going to hear conservatives say that a lot because that's how they're going to take these talking points, but our government is not to blame. It's just Trump being Trump, right? Like, it's absolutely exhausting to watch him twist the facts over and over and over again and keep attacking us. But the reason he's attacking us is because we have resources. We have resources that he wants, right? He's talked about the faucet in Canada, about how we're just a big water faucet. He's talked about our rare earth minerals. He's talked about our oil. It's quite obvious that he's in it because he wants our resources. So I'm going to move into U.S. news, but before we get there, let me know what you guys think about everything that I just said. Like, how are we all feeling about the lies that this man is pushing about our country? We could take Canada in 4 days. Calm down. I'd like to watch you guys try. Oh my God. Let me guess, you're American. All these Americans think that they're so great, that they're the best in the world. American exceptionalism. Is that why you guys can't read? Is that why you can't solve like simple math problems and your education level is like what, 129th or something out of the world? Yikes. Oh no, I don't care if you respond, dude. I really honestly don't care if you respond. And yes, I am a Trump hater. Most of us in Canada are Trump haters. Yeah. We don't really want your orange Mussolini up here, okay? But let's see what happens if you guys try. I don't think it's going to go the way you think it's going to go. Okay, cool. Yeah. Where's my mods, huh? Where's my mods? I haven't bought anything American in a month. Good. Not worth it. Don't support American businesses. Support our own businesses. Support our local economy. We need it now more than ever. America has no chance in taking and holding Canada, where you can't even tell me. Look at them. They're so bloodthirsty. Like, they're just blood for, you know, they're all radicalized. They're all radicalized, ready for war. Like, this is what the Trump propaganda has done over the last, 10 years, really. It's fully radicalized these people where they are just bloodthirsty. They're just ready to fight anyone. Like, I need to remind you, Americans, that like the reason that you said you were electing this guy is because you weren't okay with crossing borders illegally. Yet you're okay with crossing over our border to take our country, which is a sovereign land. That's okay, right? That's okay. So, like, you don't want people to come into your country illegally, but it's okay for you to threaten other countries and to try and take other countries. That's okay, right? Yeah, no, the hypocrisy is just unbelievable with you guys. Unbelievable. Yeah, no, they are bloodthirsty. We see it. They're violent people. Look at the January 6 rioters. Sorry. This is what MAGA is. I'm not talking about all Americans here. I'm not. There's a lot of lovely Americans out there. But the Trump sympathizers and the MAGAs, yeah, They are violent people. They have been radicalized and they've been getting ready for violence for a long time. We see it in the way that they talk to people. We see it in the way they behave. It's not something that you can really counteract with anything. I mean, it's very obvious to the rest of the world. January 6th was a Hollywood production. Do you guys see that in the comments? January 6th was a Hollywood production. I mean, this is crazy. Like, there's no way to even talk to these people. They don't believe in facts. They don't believe in reality. They straight up live in their own dimension of lies and propaganda. That is crazy. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Santa's real, right? Santa's real. Sorry, Megas, you're the laughingstock of the world now. Yep, they are. It's okay, they're gonna find out. They're gonna find out. It's unfortunate, but you can't just bully people forever, thinking, oh, we got the strongest military, just bully. Like, it's not going to work. People stand up to bullies. At the end of the day, justice always prevails. It might be a tough time, and we might all go through absolute horrible hardship, but justice will prevail. We know we're on the right side of history. However, when history is written about this era, it'll be your names that will be looked down upon by the rest of the planet. So with that, let's get into Trump news. So, you guys saw Trump's tweet the other day, right? I don't even know if it was a tweet or if it was on True Social, where he wrote, "He who saves his country does not violate any law." Who knows where that's from? Because to me, that signaled the end of democracy fully and utterly in the United States. Great news. I'm proud to be a Republican. Proud to have my dictator tell me what to do and control every aspect of my life. Praise the dictator. You guys are no different than the brown shirts, but you probably don't even know what that means, so there's no point in telling you. But yeah, so Trump tweeted the other day, "He who saves his country does not violate any law." And this was a quote directly used by Napoleon just before he declared himself emperor. It's also very similar to what Mustache Man said very early before he basically created the law in Germany at the time, that his word was law. There was nothing that anybody could ever do about it. So, yeah. This is the end of democracy, guys. We're going to watch the fall of the great American empire right in front of our eyes. He also stated not too long after that 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 the Supreme Court's immunity ruling basically gives him unrestricted power to do whatever he wants. So we already know going forward that it doesn't matter what the courts do anymore. It doesn't matter what the courts say. He's going to do it anyway. It's very obvious that this is a full-blown authoritarian regime. And unfortunately, Americans are going to have to deal with it because nobody's going to be able to come and save them at this point. J.D. Vance, he met with the leader of the AFD party. So Elon Musk went and had, very shortly after inauguration, he showed up for a AFD rally. And now J.D. Vance went to go have friendly talks with the AFD in Germany. And for those of you that don't know what the AFD is, it's the neo-Yahtzee party that is labeled by Germany as an extremist group. And that's who they're meeting with. So, not worrisome at all, right? Also, AP News got kicked out of the Oval Office for not wanting to say that the Gulf of Mexico is the Gulf of America. And the White House came out and said that any reporter that does not abide by the new naming of the Gulf of Mexico will now be banned from the White House. So reporters are now going to be forced to call it the Gulf of America, whether they like it or not, if they want to get in there and be able to have any sort of contact with the press secretary. Nothing says free speech like silencing reporters from reporting on what they want to report on. Let's see, what else? He's purged attorneys that ever held a case against him. He's fired hundreds more air traffic controllers. So that's going to be great for people's safety. Musk now has access to IRS taxpayer data. He also accidentally shared classified U.S. intel with the whole world because his little teenagers that he's got working for him posted it on their Doge website for everybody to see. And like this included secret, top secret, and full-blown classified documents that they just made public for the whole world to see. So that's great for America. This one I actually found out from watching one of Zoshin's videos, and then I went and researched it myself. But this is actually kind of funny and scary at the same time. But Trump fired a bunch of nuclear weapons experts in the nuclear weapons department, and then realized 24 hours later that oopsie daisy, we kind of need these people, and tried to hire them back when he realized that they were actually kind of necessary. So there's all kinds of actions like this that Trump is taking that are just wild. I don't know if he's getting I don't know if somebody's telling him to do these things, or if he's following some sort of playbook and then realizing, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But it just seems very odd that he fired all these people and then 24 hours later he was like, oh no, please come back. So kind of funny, kind of scary. Oh yeah, he also asked the Supreme Court to let him fire the head of the U.S. agency, which is the agency that basically calls out whistleblowers to they're trying to protect government whistleblowers. So they're trying to protect people in the government who are saying hey, this is really bad. This should not be happening. So obviously he would want that gone, because then nobody can stand up and say, hey, this guy is absolutely not listening to the United States Constitution. J.D. Vance came out to say that judges are not allowed to overrule Trump on executive orders, and suggested that he has the legitimate power to divide judicial rulings, which again goes completely against the Constitution, but I guess who cares about that anymore under Trump's administration? I don't get it. All of you, the MAGA patriots, they cared so much about their Constitution. They cared so much about it in this election. And now the goalpost has completely moved. When we try to tell them that what's being done right now is completely unconstitutional, they're going, well, you do kind of need to tear it apart and build up a new one. It's absolutely nuts to me. But this is what I wanted to focus on here before I open it up to the panel, is because this kind of shook me a lot to my core, because I am European, born and raised there, moved to Canada, early 2000s. But J.D. Vance went to go do a giant speech at the Munich Security Conference. And I'm just wondering, who was watching that? Did any of you guys see that speech, or at least see clips of it? Yeah. Okay. So a lot of you guys are going to kind of know what I'm talking about, which is good here. It was very obvious from the speech that the Trump administration is going to be cozying up to Russia and, throwing all their Democratic allies under the bus. And Vance completely downplayed the very real threat of Russia. The country that invaded Ukraine, the country that meddles in election, the country who crushes everybody that goes against the regime. Yeah. And he tried to paint Europe's internal issues as the real problem. He tried to say that Russia's not the problem. It's you guys, the free democracies, that are the problem. It was an absolute deliberate distraction from the fact that the Trump administration is bending over backwards to appease Putin. Sorry, I keep having to shut down the music that keeps coming up. It was a deliberate distraction, right? From the fact that they're cozying up to Putin. They're trying to appease him. And Trump did like a 90-minute phone call with Putin where basically he wanted to negotiate Ukraine without Ukraine being there and being present for any of those discussions or any of Ukraine's European allies. Like, it was very clear. The dude got, 3 claps. But let's talk about his whole, free speech rant, because he's out here criticizing European democracies for supposedly censoring people, but he's completely ignoring the elephant in the room, which is Russia's massive disinformation campaigns and attacks on democratic institutions, much like the United States. Like, his dismissive attitude saying that democracies should just be stronger if they can't handle Russian influence, it's not only tone deaf, but it's just dangerous. Like, he's trying to normalize Russian propaganda and weaken the alliances that have helped all of us stay safe for decades. And the worst part is that his hypocrisy is absolutely off the charts. Like, he's literally lecturing Europe about free speech while the Trump administration is currently silencing dissent, attacking the press, and undermining democracy. The speech wasn't about defending democracy. It was about justifying Trump's authoritarian ways and justifying Putin's authoritarian ways. Like, it was very clear to me from that conference that the United States is going to be going into an alliance with Russia. I don't even know if Russia is taking Trump seriously or not. I mean, they did air all those embarrassing videos when he first got elected. But at the end of the day, I think that we're going to see the world shift in a major, major way over the next couple of years, because our alliance with the United States is over. We're going to have to, try to make it peaceful, but we can't really rely on them anymore. I have no idea if they're going to be pulling themselves out of NATO or what's going to happen with that, but it definitely seems like the U.S. is siding with Russia at this point and trying to hurt all of Russia's enemies, so all of the Western democracies. It's quite evident. Yeah, I know. I know. This, when I talk about the United States, it's going to bring in MAGAs. There's nothing I can really do about it. Yeah, U.S. is now the bad guy. Unfortunately, that's the truth. What we saw happen when Putin won in Russia is literally happening in America. It is the same playbook, same type of propaganda. And we know that there was Russian interference in the United States. Like, we know that Russia had a big part in all the misinformation that was being spread on X, on different meta platforms, all over YouTube. But this is something that unfortunately has gotten out of control. Like, the propaganda machine is in full force. And I'm going to say what I said last week too. We are going to be going into the most giant psychological war in human history because of social media, because we never had social media before. So all the propaganda that was spread, say, in 1930s Germany was done through newspapers, posters that were hung up on walls and doors and street posts and stuff like that. So it's very, very different now. And obviously their propaganda war won because it won Trump the presidency. But now it's coming for us, and it's coming for Europe, right? In my own country right now, back home, everybody is so divided because of Russian propaganda, because it completely infiltrated our country through social media. And we're seeing it all over European countries too. However, the nice thing about the Western democracies that are not America is that there is still a much smaller percentage of people that believe this stuff than in America. And that probably has to do with, the education standards, but it's still something that we need to be very careful about. We really need to be on guard because they are going to be pushing an insane amount of right-wing propaganda our way. And, people on the progressive side are being silenced left, right, and center. The algorithms are favoring right-wing ideologies. So it's really going to be up to us as the people to be able to educate as many human beings as possible, and especially people in our own lives, in our own personal communities. Because a lot of people don't do what we do, right? They're not interested in politics. You know, they're sitting, and this is how it happens, right? You sit on Instagram and you're scrolling through cute cat videos, and then all of a sudden a really sensational propaganda piece comes on and you're like, oh, I didn't know about this. This seems interesting. And then you start to go down that rabbit hole, and that's how they get you. So it's really, really important that we continue to have these conversations with our local communities, right? It's a really big deal. We need to have these conversations with our local communities, right? As I said earlier, you see people in the elevator, talk to them. You see people at work, talk to them. You make new friends, talk to them. But get people to be on guard for believing anything they see online. And with the AI capabilities that we have nowadays, it's so easy to create fake videos and fake photos, right? You can literally tell the AI to write a fake article for you, and you can post that as a real article. Like we've been dealing with that in Canada. All of those fake CBC articles that were coming from some random sites in India that didn't even have cbc.com or cbc.ca in the name of the website. It was always like, I don't know, DM345/ whatever, right? So there's an insane amount of fake news that's being propagated. And it's funny that I say fake news because, you know, Pierre and Trump and all these guys run on the fact that real news is fake news, but their news is actually the fake news. So we need to be careful. We need to have trusted sources, and we need to understand where the funding for the sources of media that we're consuming are coming from, right? So in Canada, 78% of our media is funded by a lot of American companies. There's very few true Canadian media outlets. So we need to make sure that we're watching out for that. All right. Well, I'm going to open up the panel. Friendlies only. If I don't know you, I'm not bringing you up. And if you are somebody that wants to come up, then I will ask somebody else in the chat if they know who you are and can vouch for you, because this is not a debate live. This is just for us to discuss the recent news and to discuss how we're feeling about it as Canadians. So I'm just going to open up the guest requests. Go ahead and request up, and we'll just have a nice little panel of friendlies where we can talk to each other, share ideas, and share all kinds of emotions that we're having around what's happening.
Frontline.
Hello. How's it going?
Pretty good. I was just thinking when you were talking about the media, just today I noticed the National Post. Oh my God, when did they turn into a right-wing propaganda machine? When did that happen? Because I didn't even see it happen. I haven't looked at them forever, and I pulled them up today for an article, and immediately, like just by the title of the article, I'm like, holy bias.
They've been a right-wing media source for a long time now. But what was the article about?
Trudeau, of course. Something about how, it was about Mark Carney and how he's evil, the usual stuff. But I was just, I used to read the National Post when I was in Toronto, and that was 20 years ago. And it was pretty neutral, or at least it felt pretty neutral back then. As soon as I looked at just the front page, I'm like, what the hell happened? And I just turned it off. I didn't even bother.
It's been funded by American companies now for a long time.
Damn.
It's an American-funded news source.
Yeah, I believe they've always been, but they're more far right than they were 20 years ago. Or it might be even 30 years ago. It's been a while since I've really paid much attention to them.
Yeah, they've been, as far as I can remember, they've been a conservative news source, but obviously recently it's just gotten more into the crazy propaganda.
They don't even try to make it look neutral. Like there's no attempt.
Yeah, and that's what it's scary, right? Because a lot of Canadians just don't know that. They just, it pops up on Google when they do a search and they're like, oh, this must be true. It's the National Post. Because they just don't know. They don't even understand the biases of different media sources. So
I don't know if anybody else is on Facebook, but have you noticed the news ads on Facebook? It's like a new thing.
I'm off Meta, so
I don't know. It does seem to send you to legitimate news, but it's like the news is paying Meta to feature their articles.
nice.
technically in Canada, we're not supposed to have that, right? Like
I know.
in Canada,
I saw
Meta's
it, and
not
I thought it was
supposed to.
very bizarre.
Did you check the actual link, the website like URL? Did you check those?
I should have, but I didn't.
Because I can guarantee you, before I left Meta, I was actually making content showing people how like, oh, they were selling it off as a CBC article, but it had nothing to do with the CBC. And I was catching like grammar errors or the way that they wrote the date that was different. But they're trying to pass off fake news as real news. And it's being pushed heavily on Facebook and has been for a while.
It did seem to send me to an actual news article that was like super old. I just thought it was very weird. Russia today, I believe, Putin today met with Trump, I believe.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Based off of what Hegseth has said as well, in the NATO meeting. I don't know if you've touched on that, but it appears that the U.S. no longer plans on responding to Article 5 in regards to Europe if it comes from Russia.
Yeah, they said that. They said that they are not helping any European country if they get invaded by Russia.
Which is just insane.
Seriously?
Yep.
It's not our ally anymore. They're making it abundant.
No, at that point, they are not a NATO ally. How can they say that they're part of NATO if they're not going to do their duties as NATO?
My understanding is it takes a while to get out of NATO.
Before they just get kicked out of NATO.
They're planning on leaving NATO. I bet you they just haven't announced it yet.
They already said that they have plans to leave NATO, did they not? It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, they did.
I know that all of the EU countries seem to be scrambling to try to increase their defense based on that.
Now, if the United States leaves NATO, won't they have to shut down all their foreign bases?
One would think.
I would think so.
You would think that a lot of these other countries would see that as an invading army if they're not a form of NATO, like...
Yeah, but everyone's too afraid to stand up to America.
Yeah,
and I would
true.
think that they'd want to give the military personnel who are American time to leave the country, because at this point they're kind of scrambling a lot like the rest of the planet is at this moment.
I just wanted to point out quickly something that Zosian said in the comments, because he's very right about this. He said it's legally very hard for them to leave NATO, which is why they're saying that they just won't follow Article 5, because it is a very hard thing to do for them to actually leave NATO, but they're just letting everybody know that, like, hey, we're not officially leaving, but don't count on us.
Mm-hmm. Scary stuff.
The speeches that both Vance and Hegseth made to the EU made me quite sick to my stomach.
Yeah, same.
Yep.
I mean, it was very obvious. Like, the speeches were very, very obvious. It was like, we're teaming up with Russia now.
Yeah, well, that was exactly what they said. They also, are not including Ukraine in peace talks for Ukraine.
Because they don't care.
Yep.
They have no intentions of allowing peace talks. They never did, any more than they were going to allow it in Gaza or anywhere else on the planet. This is their intentions are nefarious at best.
Peace to Trump means letting Israel and letting Russia take what they want.
Yep.
Yeah.
As long as you get something out of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think people forget that the evangelical Christian community, and it's not to say anybody in the chat who maybe that is their religious affiliation, that this is their intention, but those who control the U.S. government and so many more governments around the world, their intention is to give the land back to whom they deem the appropriate owners of the Gaza Strip. which unfortunately is not the Palestinian people, which is absolutely atrocious and disgusting. There's so many things wrong with what's going on in the world right now, and I'm getting so tired.
And I think Trump's a bit of an egotist. Like, optically, he can say, I ended the war. I told you I'm the anti-war president, while he's threatening to annex other countries.
Yep.
Yeah. Smarshy, what did you want to say? Welcome, by the way.
Hello, how beautiful. How are you doing today? I just
We're
watched that
okay.
Flag Day interview with Polyev. Oh my God. His speech on letting indigenous people buy clean water. You're letting
Oh,
us use money for fucking clean water? The fuck?
Yeah,
Like,
that was
wow.
part of his policy, that he's basically trying to coerce the indigenous communities to let him do whatever he wants to their
What's on our
land by
land, yeah.
paying them for it, and then saying, oh, well, they
Yes.
can use that money to get clean drinking water. And he
Yeah.
actually made the statement, they will be the richest people on earth.
Yeah. We're the richest people on earth when we get our fucking land back. How
well,
about
that's what he
that?
wants to do, is sell all the resources and make
I
the
don't
indigenous
care what
people
he
rich.
wants.
Exactly.
It's not about what he wants.
I know.
It's
Not
about
weird.
what's the best for Canada. And I was not gonna vote Carney at all. Like I was just gonna vote whoever from Liberal. Now I'm gonna vote for Carney because this. Mm.
Carney does have values. I know that's the name of his book, but like he thinks about people first. At least that's the gist of what I'm getting. I'm trying to get
No,
through.
but like I wasn't keen on Carney at all.
Sold. Yep.
And hold on,
When
like,
PP is the alternative, I mean, I like Carney anyway, but when PP is the alternative, it makes him look that much shinier.
well, no, and you're absolutely right, Jana. Like I haven't read his book because I can't. James, I'm not voting Jagmeet. There's no way I'm throwing away my vote.
Yeah,
Sorry. When it comes to
our freedom.
I would just point out that nobody votes for the leader unless you actually are in the riding where that leader is.
Yes,
oh,
no, that's
Thank
true.
you.
We vote for a party. Or
no, we vote for the person in parliament, and then they take the amount of votes, and then that is who becomes.
yeah,
I'm so
I
bad.
personally would look at the polls in your area just to make sure that that's not going to end up in a
Oh,
vote
yeah,
split.
because
Because
especially
depending
for
on
me-
where you live, that might end up
I
not
live in
being the
Alberta.
ideal candidate.
it
I
might
was
be an
Smart
idea.
voting, just hold on. We can't all talk at the same time. Sorry.
Oh, I was
Just not happening. It gets too crazy. One at a time, please, everybody. Who was talking? I don't even know because the 3 or 4 of
I
you
was
went all at once.
I was just trying to tell Pumpkin I live in Alberta. I live in southern Alberta, and our populace in our city is 67% conservative. So everyone here usually votes UCP.
yeah. I was going to ask, does anybody know what riding Mark Carney is planning on running in?
He hasn't
I
announced
honestly
it
think
yet.
he would be really strong to go in NWT, but who knows?
Well, I know that where I live, my riding has now been split. So I'm actually technically in a new riding in Edmonton. So I was curious if perhaps, given his Edmontonian following,
Possible.
That would make sense.
Right, but
would.
here's the thing.
so happy.
It is possible. It's just I think it might be considered too risky because of the fact that that area tends to go a different direction.
Very conservative.
Edmonton used to have some stronghold liberal areas. Like downtown Edmonton was stronghold liberal for a very long time. I don't know what happened.
Propaganda.
True story.
There you
The
go. That's it.
UCP Reform Party. I could keep going. Klein.
I would vote for my left ass cheek that meant that he wouldn't get in. Like, I don't want this man in office.
I would vote for Kim Jong Un before Pierre at this point.
I would vote for a polar bear.
I know that
I would vote for Doug Ford over Pierre.
Oh my god.
Honestly, yeah, he's a little bit.
Well, time out for a second. When it comes to all of these talks about voting, just in case you guys don't know, I know people are putting it in the comments. I think all of you know, but smartvoting.ca, use it, figure out who has the best chance in your riding, and then go for it.
I just want to address a comment if I can. James says that Pierre Poilievre is for the people. Yeah, the people that make him money. That's it.
He's for
Well,
the
see,
lobbyists.
that's the thing, though, is neither there's a kernel of truth in what they believe. Neither the liberals nor the conservatives are actually representative of the people. We just
Right.
fundamentally disagree on which party is for the people. And
Well, exactly.
conservatives are better at messaging, and so they, even if it's full of lies, hammer it home until everyone
Right.
thinks that's what the truth is. Where the liberals are like, "Oh, we don't want to ruffle any feathers."
James, and you can like Polyev all you want. He ain't gonna give he ain't gonna give a damn about you when he's voted in. If he gets voted in, he ain't gonna give a damn about you. And if you can vote against someone hurting my community, then I cannot break bread with you. I'm sorry. If you're willing to put a vote out that will hurt communities of all demographics, I cannot vote. I cannot break bread with people.
But see, that's
Sorry.
the thing. A lot of us live in an echo chamber. We pay attention to politics so much.
Oh, James.
Most people don't actually know that that's what's actually happening, that conservatives actually are the ones hurting us,
If
either
he lowers your
provincially or federally.
taxes and steals my land and puts me on a reserve, you're
And
to blame.
I understand that. I also live on a reserve myself, but throughout Canada,
I was
most
talking
people.
to James, sweetheart. I wasn't talking exactly at you.
Oh,
I was
sorry.
yelling at James. You're good. Because James said if he lowers my taxes, that's all I care about.
Oh, well, that's conservative 101.
Yeah, there are
Lower
more important
taxes.
things than your personal taxes. Honestly, I'll pay more taxes for you, James.
Yep.
I
Well,
don't want my taxes lowered. I want services to stay the same or better.
See,
That's
that's
all.
the thing
I
is, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I made a comment on a video and everyone took it way out of context. I said if I, meaning just me, got taxed more, I would be happier with that than kids could eat. And everybody's like,
Sorry,
"Oh,
cut
so
out
what do
there
you
at
want?"
the end.
Okay, so I said if I wanted to get taxed more, I would be happy with that so that kids could eat and then we could fund social programs. Right? That's all I said. And everyone's like, "Oh, so you want my taxes to go up?" That's not what I said. If you read between the lines, I said if I, meaning myself, get taxed more, then I would be okay with that so that children wouldn't have to go hungry and they could be flourishing in all areas. And they're like, "Oh, so you just don't care about anyone else." Make it make sense.
I just
I
wanted
mean,
to.
he's running on the same policies that Trump ran on, right? He's telling people what they want to hear. I just don't understand how a lot of these conservatives don't realize that they are the same as, the people who voted for Trump in the United States. And we can very much see that he is not going to give them what he promised. There's already a lot of people regretting their vote because they're realizing, oh, this guy's not going to do anything that he actually promised for us. And then, of course, you're going to have his crazy loyal supporters that are going to move that goalpost no matter what happens and continue to say that they support him no matter what. But he's not doing what he promised. The inflation's
100%.
up, prices are going up. Like, I'm sorry, but nothing is actually happening that he said he was going to do.
Well,
Trump
He,
is
he's done tax cuts. He's done tax cuts for the rich, but where's the tax cuts for the poor? They ain't
well,
coming
exactly.
yet.
No,
Yeah,
Exactly.
people, you're not going to be paying taxes on overtime only counts because the fact that, you're not going to get paid overtime anymore.
Right,
And
exactly.
on tips too.
And
Exactly.
the thing is, I absolutely love this is they're going off the fact that there's going to be affordable health care, but they're getting rid of Obamacare. But they don't realize the two things are the exact same thing.
yep.
So he just voted to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, in the same breath of getting rid of the Obamacare, because that's not what it was ever called. It was the Affordable Care Act. They're like, how do you know that? I'm like, if you would bother to have read the articles
Well,
and the
even the
plans
tariffs,
to
people
get
think
rid
that's
of
going
it.
to save them money.
Technically, it's Romney care.
Well, yeah, Romney Care, but
Yeah.
Trump likes to call it Obamacare for some
Yeah.
reason. He likes to think that he's like the most
I
prominent person out there.
I think it's important to remember that a lot of people in America, I don't know if they would have the intellectual ability and the know-how to
The
actually read
resources?
a lot of these things and understand what they're reading. And that's I think that's the important part we have to remember before judging them is that a lot of them they don't know. They just know
Right.
what they've been told. And I think sadly there's a good portion, like a decent portion, and I'm going to say Alberta and Saskatchewan, and unfortunately, sorry, Devin, that counts both of us, but unfortunately, a lot of our province have been made up by people who have been led to believe these really amazing oil and gas jobs where they don't have to have a whole lot of education and they can make bazillions of dollars, and
Right.
all of that's crumbling around them, and they're literally
But
grasping onto straws to try and maintain what they had, and they don't understand why it's disappearing before their eyes. And this con man, and I'm going to call him a con man because that's what he is coming through saying, hey, I'll lower your taxes when he intends to give more to the rich. I'm going to do all of these amazing things. You're gonna have it so good you're not going to have to vote again. You're not going to have to do these things again. It's just going to be so amazing. And these are all the things these people desperately want to hear, and because they genuinely don't understand how everything's slipping through their fingers.
and that you're exactly right, Tiffany. You're absolutely dead on that spot. And here's the thing: I went into a panel yesterday of a person that I've been following for a while on here, and we were talking about American politics. And this guy kept using the word illegal immigrants, and I went up and I'm like, okay, can I just come up? So I requested, and he brought me up, and I'm like, hey, if I kept calling you an illegal alien, would you be okay with that? And he goes, well, I'm not. I'm like, have you ever committed a crime? He goes, yeah. I'm like, so therefore you're an illegal alien because you've committed crimes. He goes, no, I'm not. So I said, why does it give you the right to call someone else an illegal immigrant when the first thing that you do to become an immigrant and become a citizen in the U.S. is land on their soil, put your foot on their soil. And he goes, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, okay, so how about we not use that term? Because it's dehumanizing to people. And I don't like being called illegal. You don't like being called illegal. The stuff we do is illegal. And he's like, he sat there for a minute in the house, is like, oh, okay. And he's like, and the guy was like, thank you. And he stopped using the word illegal. If we just take 10 seconds out of our day to figure out that people are not illegal, the crimes they commit, we'd be better off. And I've said that to many, many people in Canada as well. It's not just the US, it's many, many people in Canada. I've said that too.
Sorry, somebody's got music in the background.
Oh, sorry, that's me.
No worries,
I
no
honestly
worries.
think it's going to get a lot worse once the Department of Education shuts down in the United States. You're going to have a lot more people who are going to get a lot less educated. And when that does happen, what's going to end up happening is when these schools shut down in rural areas, they're going to be replaced by churches, which is going to do a lot more to just spitball a lot of what Trump is saying and spreading a lot more of that information. So
Oh,
within the
yeah.
next 4 years, things are going to get a lot fucking worse. It's going to get scary.
Yeah.
Also, the situation with the not JFK, RFK,
RFK,
and
oh,
the mental health, and how he wants to
put
get
them
rid
in
of
camp.
SSRIs
Those
and
camps.
have camps,
Yeah.
like farm camps. It
Oh,
makes me
Mike,
sick to my
That's
stomach.
what they're
I
doing
have
is
worked in mental health care. Those are
uh,
life-saving medications. People will not be with them after that. If you force people into that situation, this is going to be so bad.
I
Mike
was going to say,
boyfriend.
I can I just please one sec? It's going to cause mass unalivings, like self unalivings throughout the United States.
So many.
Yeah.
You're also
You're
going to get a
taking
lot
away
more.
people's ability to think properly and be able to live their lives properly. It's absolute insanity to me. Like I heard that the other day, and I almost wanted to cry because I know how many people actually need those medications to get by and survive in the real world. And it's going to be really bad. It's going to be really bad.
Oh, it is, and I have to go off my SSRIs because of medical reasons. It's fucking hell living like this. It is absolute fucking a nightmare living like the way I'm living right now. But unfortunately, I can't take them right now. So everyone's like, "Well, why are you so grumpy?" I'm like, "Because I can't take my medication that I need. I can't function." And whoever just said in the comments, "Canada for Trump," I will send you to America, and you can go live in America. Because Canada is not for Trump. That is the one thing I will ever give that man credit for. He absolutely united Canada when he did that.
Basically, the one positive thing about him getting elected.
Right. So basically, one positive thing to get elected was
Remains to
that.
remains to be seen though, because I'm disappointed. Federally or provincially, voter turnout is ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely. And Devin, it makes me sad when I hear people in my own province. Oh, Trump's gonna make us better. They're now trying to sell Alberta to fucking America. No, we don't want to do that, Danielle. But
Yeah,
Danielle's gonna do what Danielle does because she don't give a fuck.
our leaders are embarrassing.
They are
Well,
embarrassing.
most of them are, but and they're like going after Jagmeet and all, and they're going after Wapinu for actually doing something for his fucking people. That's embarrassing.
Ugh. Somebody in the comments just said Trump should be running Canada. Like, I don't understand why people want to be under authoritarian dictatorship. Probably because they've never experienced it, they never read about it, they don't understand it, and they probably think that Russia's a good place to live.
It's the
This
white
whole
privilege that comes out
propaganda
because
is
90%
saying.
of them are white privilege.
Yeah, well, that's
Pumpkin?
what it is. They think that it won't impact them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the privilege.
there's a lot of propaganda saying that Russia is great and that it's like the propaganda of it all is like the disinformation leading people to believe that like Russia isn't responsible in this whole conflict with Ukraine when obviously there's only one aggressor in that situation.
Yeah.
But like there are so many people who are like completely in banana land about what the actual story of that war is.
Exactly.
Somebody said that Trump should never be allowed into Canada again. He's already not allowed. He's a convicted felon. That's why our leaders and PM had to go down there. It's because he's not allowed up here, like legally.
Right?
Because we don't
He
allow
will likely
convicted
get
felons
special
into our
permission.
Yeah,
country.
yeah. Remember the family that moved to Russia that thought it would be so much better than Canada? Look
Yeah.
how well that turned
Ah!
out for them. Karma got them, oh boy, oh boy. No, he's not. Wow, he is not allowed to. He legally cannot come into Canada. He is no. Why am I arguing with silly people tonight? I don't know.
I know because the reality is
Yeah,
that
don't
people
worry
believe,
about it.
reality is that people believe that he's going to come to the G7. That's what
He likely will because of the fact diplomatically Canada will probably allow him the
Yeah,
right to enter the country. He will
yeah.
have a
yes.
special permission,
And he will. Won't he have like an ankle monitor on his leg or something? Because that's
perhaps.
what
Who
I heard.
knows?
Because
We'll
he
soon
can't.
find out.
Yeah, we don't need saving from the United States. Just FYI, we're very happy to not have like mass school pew pews. We're also very happy to have universal health care. We're happy to have social programs that can help people take time off work when they have kids. Like, we don't need saving. We really don't. We're just fine the way we are on our own without any of your fake exceptionalism standards.
Way higher on the happiness scale than you guys do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be perfectly happy if we did exactly the opposite of whatever you do.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Miss
By the way-
Radical, welcome to the panel. You haven't said anything. I want to say hi. How's it going?
How's it going?
Can I say hi too? I saw you earlier today.
We had a great chat.
It's radical. I miss you.
It was a good chat.
I miss you too.
I miss all of you.
Thank you guys. You guys are the best. This is crazy, some of the things that are being said in this comment section.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when you talk badly about America, there's going to be a lot of people. And again, we're not talking bad about Americans. We're talking bad about the current administration. You guys used to be your friends, but unfortunately things have changed. So, but the second you talk about, going against their orange dictator, I mean, they're going to come up there and try to belittle you and try to insult you and try to say crazy things. I mean, these people love to get a rise out of us, right? That's why they do it. That's why they spend their time on lives with people that they don't even agree with, right? I don't know about you guys, but like when I go into a conservative live, I either go in there to actually debate a point, if it's a debate, but if they're just talking to each other the way that we are here, why would I stick around? I don't even want to hear it. I don't care. Just take me out of it. So it's just something that they like doing, right? It's a passion, it's a hobby of theirs to rile people up, to rage bait, to make people feel bad, to make people feel hurt. They like hurting people.
Hey,
end of story.
Because they're hurting themselves.
We need to do? We need to flip the switch. You know what? We need to give them something to get excited about. Let's tell them about our new lineup and the addition that we have going on.
Oh, I sent you a message on text because I can't find your Discord. I don't know if I was in it. I might have clicked out of it because I was clicking out of a couple of the Discords I was in.
Okay, we'll check that out for you.
I was messaging because I can't get into the Beaver Dam. I'm like, where is this Beaver Dam Miss Radical keeps talking about?
Sorry, Miss Radical, you were just saying you want me to just talk about the shows?
I don't know if she left.
I'm going to talk. I always talk about the shows. I always go over all the shows. I can go over them now. I was always going to go over them at the end. That's kind of how I finish off, is by going over all the shows. But I didn't know if you wanted me to bring it up right now.
No, I was going to bring it up. I couldn't look at my screen though and say it. So just continue doing what you're doing. I tried to bring up my camera and go on off in the app and do it, and it won't allow me to have my mic off.
Can't do that. Got to have it up in front of a screen. That's not the screen we're talking on.
No. I was talking with a bunch of my American friends. I'm like, I'm sorry. You guys want to throw eggs at us, and that's fine. But you can't afford to. And everybody was in the comments was like trying to attack me, and I'm like, this is no shade on you guys. This is shade on your government.
But that's exactly
go ahead, Angela.
That's exactly what Trump wanted, division. He wants division. And unfortunately, we're going to have to deal with this for the next 4 years.
And fear. He wants fear and he wants division. My sister from the United States called me and she was like, I have nothing against Canada, but like it's so expensive to live there, and what are we gonna do? And you guys want to take our energy away.
Energy.
Well,
Johnny did a really good TikTok on affordability for groceries, difference between Canada and the US, and it was shocking based on a Walmart cart and the exchange rate. So share that away.
They do much better than us, or the other way around, Tiffany?
Oh, it's so cheap here compared to the States.
Oh, 100%. It's way cheaper.
Really?
Yep.
Way cheaper.
It hasn't always been that way, though. That must be recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you have billionaires making decisions on how affordable things can be, it's
Trump was really proud of using the word groceries. Remember that? He was one of those interviews, very proud of using the word groceries because nobody uses that word.
Everybody
uses that word, but you, because you're a millionaire and have grown up that way.
Yep, exactly.
Food magically appears in front of you.
McDonald's,
because all he does is eat Big Mac.
Can we please all just not talk over each other? Sorry, let's go one at a time. If I have to, I will just actually get people to go at the same time, because this does get uploaded to YouTube, and we do want it to be a good experience for anybody who's watching there. So I know Jana was talking, and then I saw Tiffany's thing light up, and then I saw Smarshy's thing light up, and then I saw Pumpkin. So let's go. Jana, if you want to finish what you were saying, go for it, and then Tiffany, and then Smarshy, and then Pumpkin, and then Miss Radical.
I was just making the point that we've got this millionaire proud of using the word groceries because he thinks it's so unusual when it's a word that everybody uses all of the time. We go to grocery stores, we buy groceries. But he's so out of touch that he thinks that that's a magical word. And in some ways, he's brilliant for using it. And I mean, I guess it worked, sort of. But did you also hear the part where he was at a grocery store, like doing a promo, and he picked up 2 apples and was talking about how they couldn't afford all these apples, and then he walked an apple back to the refrigerator because he thinks apples are refrigerated because, again, he has no real life experience with food.
Yeah.
Just these little, like, this guy doesn't care about people. Like, he doesn't have the ability to even understand average people, let alone care about them. Anyway, that was my point.
Okay, Tiffany?
I was going to make the point that isn't it funny that this is the leader of the US, and then you have King Charles, who has a whole entire farm where he actually has been advocating for agriculture, environmentalism. He actually sells a lot of the produce and stuff that comes off of his land. I'm not saying that royalty is amazing or that their history has shown to me amazing in history, but just a very different approach to leadership in that he's been advocating not just for himself, but the whole of his country and society, in that we need to start taking care of the planet and the world and the people in the world. And this guy doesn't even, I guarantee if you gave him a potato and a turnip, he wouldn't know the freaking difference, to be honest. I kind of almost want to do that one day. I'd love to just stand in front of him and be like, Mr. President, what are these 2 things? Can you name them? They're groceries. I got them at the grocery store just 5 minutes ago. But it's just, I look at it, I'm like, there are so many leaders around the world that try to at least be somewhat relatable and understand at least some of the plight of the working class. And this guy literally has spent his whole entire last 20 years ensuring that he is not relatable, not even a little. And he literally just, I don't understand the allure of him. He doesn't even look appealing. I'm like, if you're gonna pick an alpha male to lead all the men, like, why? Pick Jason Momoa. Like, what?
Okay, one, Jason Momoa is like not an alpha male because there is no such thing as alpha, gamma, or beta. It's just that's just what people have started using anyway. An alpha male doesn't tell you they're an alpha male if they are anyway. So that's another thing. I had people seen and have people tell me that I am complaining about everything, like gas prices, and I'm like, I don't drive, so that doesn't affect me personally. Um, I ride the city bus, and I have a bus pass, so that's no big deal to me. But why are you guys complaining about egg prices? I thought they were so good when Trump got in. And they're like, well, how much are eggs? One person I know in Texas, he said the spot where they are, it's $40 for 20 for 12 eggs. $40 for 12 eggs, and I'm like, there's no way that he showed me the prices. It's in some places in Texas. They're $40 a dozen, and I'm like, that's really insane because showed a price. I think it was in Ontario or Alberta. They were at Costco, and it was like $10 or $12 for 3.5 dozen. They're like, that's cheap. I'm like, yeah, because we
I mean,
also have
their egg prices are really high right now because of the bird flu.
Oh, I understand that. I understand
Yeah.
that, but it just like it blew me away that could actually be a freaking thing. That it was $40 for 12. Like I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, but I mean, it's
Which,
still, right? Like the bird flu is something real, and now they pulled out of the WHO and firing people at the CDC. So, good luck.
yeah, and they've also got rid of the EPA and the FDA, I believe, is the ones that are.
Basically, any three-letter agency they've fucked over.
Oh yeah, it's and everyone's like, oh, you should come down to visit us. I'm like, have you seen the state of your country right now? I'm not safe.
Yeah. I do want to let Pumpkin talk because Pumpkin had her hand up like a good 10 minutes ago, almost.
Sorry,
Yeah,
pumpkin.
I wanted to circle back on what you were talking about these subsidies, these supposed subsidies. For all the Americans in the chat, I really want you to know that when I go to a store and I buy a chocolate bar, I am not subsidizing the grocery store. I'm just buying a chocolate bar. That's the same situation. These are not subsidies. It's just purchases.
And then Miss Radical was going to go next. And yes, Pumpkin, I agree with you fully. It's just a narrative. It's just a narrative.
It's a well played smoke and mirrors game, right? Um, there's so much fraud going on. Everybody's stealing everything. They're the ones stealing everything, right? Like it's a constant smoke and mirror show, and it's meant to keep us angry and divided and reactive to the point that we're not able to build community, work together, or be proactive in any sort of a way. Just so we're all aware of that. Most of us are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, when people say things like, oh, Trump's winning. Yeah, he's winning for the billionaires. That's it. That's it. He's not winning for the regular American. Ever thought that the people who voted for Trump wanted all of this? They wanted the dismantling of your entire country and democracy. They wanted to have their Medicaid thrown away. They wanted to have their Social Security thrown away. They wanted to hurt other countries. They wanted to provoke other countries. They wanted to go to war. That's what they wanted. I mean, sure, I guess if that's what they wanted, then yeah, but I don't think a lot of the people that voted for him actually wanted that. I think only a small percentage of you who voted for him actually wanted to go to war with other countries, get away from all your allies, isolate yourself, and live a life where you are just now mere slaves to the billionaires.
Well, Frontline, if I can make a comment, they didn't want this for them. They didn't mind it happening to other people. They just didn't expect it to happen to them. So now that it's happening to them, that's why you're seeing a really big regret in voting for Trump because they didn't vote for this for them and their families. Because there was a lady that had her food stamps away and she owes like $20,000 in food stamps and EBT back to the government. Which, hey, fine, like if you miscalculate something and they have, you know, pretty much like miscalculated, you have to overpay it, that's fine. She said, I didn't vote for this. This isn't about anyone else. This is about me and what I voted for. I voted for my best interest. I'm like, yeah, I can tell. It's privilege.
Yeah, and I mean, the mega in the chat is saying like we've always been slaves. The government in any form is evil. LOL. You do understand that an authoritarian regime is still a government, and it's a government that actually makes you more of a slave than a democratic government. So just FYI, just wanted to put that out there. Yeah. It's still a government. You're not going to get away from, like, you're not just going to be free of government completely. You're going to still have government, but it's going to be authoritarian, and there's going to be a lot of rights that are going to get taken away from people. And your ability to make money and your ability to save money is going to get a lot worse. And FYI, AI is coming for a lot of our jobs soon. So if there's no social security nets, how are you going to manage and how are you going to manage through that? Like, unless you're some tech bro, billionaire, millionaire, whatever, you're working in Silicon Valley, whatever, there is a good chance you're going to suffer. It's just obviously not going to happen right away for some of you, but it's coming.
What's
I'm
ironic?
pretty sure the statistic is like somewhere like 75% of all jobs now can be replaced with AI or some form of AI. So yeah, basically within the next, I'd say 5-10 years, there's going to be some robot working some form of your job. So good luck if there's no social safety nets.
And somebody said Trump is just trying to bring America back from debt. No, he's not. He's cutting everything so that he can give the billionaires tax cuts that he promised them. That's the only reason things are being cut. And you're being lied to about why those things are being cut. I mean, I've heard the craziest things that people have said about, oh yeah, last night some guy actually said that apparently the USAID was funding, I kid you not, this is what they said, that they were funding transgender surgeries in Jamaica. Like, this is the kind of stuff that people are believing because Elon Musk, I guess, is tweeting about it or putting it up on his weird website or something. But they're not cutting things in order to make your life better and to bring America back from debt. They're not. They're cutting things because the Trump administration promised these giant tax cuts to billionaires, and he has got to figure out a way to make that happen. So he's trying to cut everything that he can in order to give bigger tax cuts to his billionaire buddies that basically funded his entire campaign.
Yeah, it's really sad too because I was talking to this person on my live yesterday. I think Miss Radical was in the comments, and a couple of people that are on the panel or in the comments or on the panel on my live. They this guy goes, "Oh yeah, well what about America subsidizing Canada?" I'm like, "What are you
Oh,
talking about? Subsidizing for what?" I said, right now, as it stands, you owe Canada, or your country owes Canada $328.7 billion. Well, what does Canada owe you? What does Canada owe the U.S.? They said $79.8 billion. It's a lot less than what America owes us. He's like, well, we subsidize you. I'm like, okay, so I Googled it. I wanted to make damn sure I wasn't saying anything I wasn't aware of. Nope, basically just came up and said, "Nope, you're wrong. You're lying. You're pulling the wokeism agenda." And I'm like, I'm looking at Google right now. We are not
Yeah.
subsidizing America.
I want to let Anthony and Treaty Birder speak because they just came up on the panel. Hello, guys. What's your take on all of this?
Well,
Anthony.
I just got in here. Yeah, I just got in here. So I really not too sure about what you were talking about, but I came here right away because of a video from Radical. And he was talking about the next several months of what's going to happen in the United States. And I was actually working on a video at the time when I came across what he said. So that's why I came here. So I don't know what your topic is, but I do have something about Elon
We're just
Musk.
talking about all the shenanigans that are going on in the States and how his supporters keep thinking that these are all good things. That's about the gist of it.
Yeah, they have no idea. They're the. I relate MAGA to Jim Jones, Jonestown, the people that went there 800 strong and drank the Kool-Aid and died for a man. It's the same kind of thing, except this man has a smartphone and a nuclear weapons, and he completed January 6th. It was stalled, it was stopped, and then unfortunately it was finished. And now he's in charge. That's what he's wanted from the beginning. He tested the waters, and now things are going to he's right. Like, things are going to dramatically change in the next few months in the States. I believe the internet connection is going to be gone very soon. Trump used to talk about it a lot. He would go, "Oh, those cables are going to get cut by Putin." And usually when he does that, he's projecting what he plans. He says the quiet part out loud a lot. So if you do it, I'm really good at recognizing things because of my ADHD. And when you put the pieces together, when he starts saying stuff, you can actually get the code for what he's about to do. And a lot of the times it's right. Now it's really serious. It's very serious, people. I've got videos I sent to Radical from our military that are talking about preparing for war on the down low, like, hey, amongst themselves. And we really gotta worry about why these robots are being mass produced. Elon Musk is building 10 billion humanoid robots by the year 2040. These are being mass produced right now, which means that's 4 million every day until 2040. Where are these being built? Like, why is it so many to replace all the humans on Earth being built? If you look at what Elon's been saying, he's been talking about, oh, the prophecies come true, and he's the chosen one, and la da 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 da. Well, if you look at that and put 2025 together, the project and all their prophecies, they predict a biblical plague, and that something's going to wipe out a whole chunk of humanity, and they're going to need to replace those jobs in the nuclear plants, in the strategic places in the United States, that when the people disappear that are against them, ta-da, you know what I mean? Like, there's these robots, they do the job, they continue on, and they take America. That's I know it's a really weird thing to think, but back in 1938, nobody thought Hitler would make concentration camps and Schittler, and I love the TikTok shop, and you know what I mean? This is serious. Like, we're in a time right now where we really got to sit back as critical thinkers and put all the pieces together and go, is this really happening? And what can we do to help the 290 million people in America that didn't vote for him? I land my plane.
I mean, this is all coming down again to these guys, the Silicon Valley tech bros that basically bought the presidency. They've had this plan for a long time. Like, they've been talking about it since 2009, right? Creating network states, creating cities that are completely run by the billionaires with no laws, with their own police, with their own militias. I mean, Curtis Yarvin was the guy who really started this whole thing, talking about how, democracy and freedom are never going to go hand in hand. And we just need to let the most wisest people, who he obviously thinks of himself as, to rule land as these, again, cities that do not have to go by any sort of international law, federal law, where they get to be the kings and do as they see fit in those cities. And Peter Thiel is one of Yarvin's proteges, basically. And Peter Thiel funneled a ton of money into J.D. Vance for the Senate race in 2022. He funneled $50 million into that race to get him in Senate so that he could end up being the VP pick. The plan isn't that's the thing that a lot of these Trump supporters don't realize. Trump's not pulling the strings here. He's just the puppet for these guys. I mean, look at what happened in the Oval Office the other day when Elon Musk and his kid were there. He literally sat there and let that kid tell him to shut up and that he's not the president. And he let it happen because he knows he's not the one pulling the strings. It's the Silicon Valley tech bros, and it's also the deals that he's made with Russia for years and years and years, back when he was giving Russian criminals places in the Trump Tower. So it's not him. It's really not. And they know that he's old, he's sick, he might not make it. And J.D. Vance is actually a much scarier beast than Trump, because he is the, poster boy for Silicon Valley. And he's completely backed and supported by guys like Peter Thiel, who's telling him what to do at every step of the way. And if you look at, what these guys have laid out, their plan is very similar to Project 2025. They have a little bit of a different reason for it, but it matches up. He's going to completely ignore the courts. He's going to militarize their police force. He's probably going to end up weaponizing his sympathizers and his supporters. I mean, it's just the truth of what's coming, and it's genuinely scary, and it affects the entire globe. So, I don't know too much about the mass robots or anything like that, but I do know that Peter Thiel owns Palantir, and Palantir is Big Brother software. It's AI that knows who you are, where you are, how you're going to vote, how you're going to spend your money. It has mass surveillance. So, now it's going to be in the hands of the Trump administration. And when you have that kind of software in your hands, I don't know how we're going to move forward. I have no idea, because we've never seen this before in human history. So even when we go back to look at some of the other dictators and how they were taken down, it's going to be a very different thing now in the modern world with all this modern technology. We're going to have to get really creative. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of point that out because a lot of people are talking about Trump, but realistically, it's not. It's Silicon Valley bros and Putin that we have to worry about. Trump's just the puppet. He's the figurehead. That's it.
I agree with what Sophie said. I feel as if we are living in the new ages of Terminator. This is the Terminator world. Like everything is robotic. Everyone's being replaced. Call me crazy. Call me conspiracy theorist. Yeah, nope. I'm done. I'm just sleeping in my house until like I have to leave, and then I'll pack my stuff and leave.
The robots are sorry.
Sorry, Devin, go ahead. You haven't spoken in like forever.
Yeah, let's let Devin speak, and then Tiffany, and then back to Anthony. Devin?
I got nothing. I think it's just...
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were trying to say something.
No, but we're just watching the stupidest descent of intelligence and shit around the world. We're watching people cheer on what we've seen in history, but it's scary now because we have the advent of AI and other technologies that it's probably not going to be as easy to dismantle these fascist regimes.
Well, in that same mindset, back in the 1930s, that's back when they were just starting to get like mass press in like Germany. So realistically, yeah, there's a huge difference in technology, but truth being told, the way word spreads, it's kind of, like I kind of lost my train of thought, but yeah, sorry about that. I had a train of thought, but I lost it.
Just a quick question for you guys. Oh, never mind. They left the guest request. I just saw somebody in the guest request. I wanted one of you guys to vet them for me because I didn't know.
I was going to say, how are we going to fight this? I think it's going to involve us, sadly, not using technology. We're going to almost have to go back to archaic ways because we're going to have to almost follow the revolutionaries of the 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, where we used paper, we used secret meetings, we used knitting clubs, etc., town hall meetings, etc. Because I hate to say it, like our phones are literally microphones. If you even ask anybody who's in the military, they have to shut these things down when they're speaking because they will record you, even if you haven't given.
I think one of the best things for us to start with, and it was mentioned in the comments too, but general strikes, strikes where we stop buying products. That's the hard part though, right? Because consumerism is so driven into North American mindsets where the need to consume every day is so big. And that's honestly what scares me, because in order for this to work, we need to do it in the masses, because that's how we crash the stock market. That's how we get them to actually feel the pain of what it means for us to not be buying their stuff anymore.
We have to Cat Stratford it.
But we need everybody on board. And right now we don't have everybody. We have like maybe 3-5% of the population that's willing to do it. So that's the hard part. How do we get everybody on board for that, right? It's going to be extremely challenging.
It's sad because I hate to say it, and I think this is just human nature just in general, is that we almost wait until we're at the 11th hour to start taking action. There's a small percentage of us that obviously we're all in this group, we're all in this chat, we're all in all of this. So there's obviously some of us who pattern recognition, this whole thing, realize there's something big happening and we need to take action. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of the people, there's going to be a group of people we're just going to have to leave behind. They're never going to get it. They're not going to be mentally, emotionally, spiritually available to ever understand it, even after the fact. And then there's going to be a whole group of people in the middle who it's going to take seeing some massive things happening in society before they finally are just like, holy shit. Like, pardon my French, but like, holy shit. And then they're going to be
I
like, one
know.
word. And I'm like, all of us basically, I think, have to do the legwork to kind of prepare everybody for the moment when the middle chunk of that bell curve finally get their eyes like open wide and they're ready to join us. So I feel like our job, so to speak, and I hate to use that as a word, but I'm lacking a better one right now, is to kind of create that rubric and that metrics for people. Here's what we do. Here's how we fight. Here's who we meet. Here's our community networks in our areas so that you have support for XYZ. And I feel like that's unfortunately how we're going to have to structure this, because I think we've seen this in history. There's always a small percentage of us who were called the crazy people who saw this coming ahead of time and started making moves. And then it wasn't until 2, 3, 4, 5 years into the whole takeover that people are like, holy shit. So
it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
I'm going to send you a link to a Google Doc that somebody shared with me about books that people kind of maybe need in their library. Unfortunately, I have to go pick up my daughter from ballet, so I wish all of you guys an absolutely wonderful evening. It's been amazing speaking with all of you guys. It's so great to see so many amazing faces. But yeah, I unfortunately think we just have to be the fire starters, so to speak.
Yeah, 110%. We need to somehow get people on board and get people educated. But that's the part that I struggle with personally the most, is like, you know, I have a lot of anger towards everybody that doesn't want to get involved, right? People that are just too busy with their own lives to care about what's happening, and they're not going to care. They're not going to care until it affects them. And that's the sad reality of the world that we live in. We can be screaming from the rooftops and people aren't going to care until it affects them. You know, we're like those people in Don't Look Up, where the meteor's coming down and they're all just like, hey, look, it's the meteor. It's going to hit us. And everyone's like, I don't care. What am I going to buy for my next party?
True story.
Right? Yeah, it's definitely disheartening. It's disheartening, but we got to keep trying. We got to keep pushing forward. And hey, man, if we can change one person's mind, we're doing something right. So
you change one person's mind, you change the world for one person. So, you know, it's a huge stride.
Yeah.
I feel like the lady in the Sarah Connor movie. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I was just saying, like, Go ahead and speak.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel like the lady in the Sarah Connor movie who kept screaming, they're coming, it's going to be bad, and you guys don't understand, and blah, 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 blah. I was on a show called Oprah's $1 Million Neighborhood, reality TV show, and a couple others for what I do. I recognize happenstance because of my ADHD. I used to do it all the time and win small amounts of money, being able to see something before it happens. Like when the football player 2 years back, forget his name, number 3, drops dead of a heart attack on the field after getting hit, and the ambulance pulls up. And I pieced all the pieces together, and I made a video and said it's going to come in 9113. And that night, the pick 4 came in 9113. And I've done this hundreds of times just because I have ADHD, and I'm able to put it together. And so that's why my screenshot is those tickets, so people understand those are all my wins. I win thousands of times, small amounts of money, just by putting together happenstance from events happening around me and things I think in my head. And I apply it to things like what's happening right now in real life, and I am really worried. I made a video back when Trump was running for election of him sitting at the table with a map of the United States and a big explosion happening in the middle. And then I started sending it to MAGA. I said, if you elect this guy starting in the new year, you're going to have nothing but natural disasters and crashes and explosions, and it's going to be bad. And sure enough, since he's been January, there's been multiple plane crashes, fires that devastated everything, snow down to freaking Texas. They just had the flood I predicted. It's crazy. So all the pieces are there for this dark cloak over the United States, and for it to turn into it like an 1878 Civil War. You know, it's really coming together, and I don't like it, but all the evidence is there. You know, boy. So I'm not a psychic, but I just recognize happenstance, and I recognize this all coming together as something bad. And you're right, we do have to unite. We got to figure out how, as a country, quickly before they cut the cables to the internet and the ocean and blame it on Putin, and then run everything through Elon's satellite by password. We need to figure out how we're going to communicate and how we're going to network and how we can possibly stop this before they totally have control of the United States and 290 million people that I believe will probably just, oh, another coronavirus just mysteriously appeared. The bird flu mixed with it, and all of a sudden 290 million people that oppose Trump are dead. You know what I mean? It's bad to think, but that's it. I have to put those pieces in place and see if they fit. And that's a possibility. I don't see it not fitting yet. So I'm really worried that this is a thing where they're going to try to fulfill the prophecy of Elon Musk and what they believe needs to happen to the world for them to make it a better place in their eyes. Get rid of the blacks, get rid of the sorry if I say this wrong, get rid of all the people of color, and make it white again. I really believe that's why these are being mass produced, these robots, to be put in the critical positions of jobs that they're going to eliminate that have to be filled quickly to prevent nuclear meltdowns, power grid failures, etc. Why else is he building these in mass?
I mean, I believe you that he's building them, but I still think that it's far away from it. Like, we have a period of time. We do.
Yes.
Like, it's not happening tomorrow,
yes.
Right? And these guys are not the most competent people.
Yes.
They're not. Trump literally fired like nuclear inspectors and people that work, making sure that the nuclear weapons are being up to date and whatever. And then he fired all of them, realized 24 hours he shouldn't have done that, had to hire them back. So like, there really aren't the most competent people. And like Elon Musk and his little minions putting out like classified US information on their website and then realizing what they did and having to take it down. Like, there's a lot of areas where they could screw up, and we just have to hope that they continue screwing up, because the more they screw up, the better it is for the whole world. Not to mention that their egos might clash too. So, yeah. And Joe said too that the Doge website was hacked too. It was. The Doge website was hacked already. So we might be not, we won't be okay. Like, no matter what bad stuff is coming. But I'm not going to go down like the full apocalyptic nightmare until we get closer to it, if that makes sense. Like, right now I have to focus on things. For me personally, like, I have to focus on what happens like 3 months from now. Like, this is because if we think too far into the future, that also paralyzes people, right? When people get too scared, they become paralyzed. So we need to think like, what can we do in the present moment? What can we do right now? How can we get people united right now? How can we educate people right now? That's the most important part. It's good to know about these things. It's good to know about what might be coming, but let's focus on what's in our power to do right now. Because we can't really affect things that are going to be happening years and years from now without affecting things that are going to happen 3 months from now. So that's kind of my hope, is that they're going to have screw ups, which is going to give us an opportunity to somehow capitalize on those screw ups.
I agree.
Women against Polyev.
I'm just.
No, I know. I just wanted to because it does sound scary to a lot of people that don't know what we're talking about. A lot of people that are maybe in the comments where like that kind of thinking like could feel very scary. And I talk about these things too, right? Like, I talk about Silicon Valley's plan and Praxis and Palantir, which are all very scary things, right? But I always tell people like there's still some hope there. There's still ways that we can fight back. There's still ways that we can unite. So I always just want to top it off by saying that, just so that people still have hope. That's why. Yeah, I wasn't saying that anything you said was necessarily bad or wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, it's like the Sarah Connor thing. It's a projection of the future that could happen if we don't make the changes now to stop it. You understand?
Yeah, 100%. And I'm on board with you on that.
I'm just making projections of ways, and we can cut it off. We've got time, we've got the ability, but they've got the satellites way up there that's eventually going to, I believe, be the control we won't have the telecommunications we have anymore. Who's got phone lines?
Yeah, I
You
know.
know, like we're not going to have that kind of communication. So I think we need to think about that. And I believe your suggestion with downloading information and understanding what we need to have and things like that. But I also believe that radical suggestion that we no longer be nice and be more aggressive in our actions about the people that are doing the wrong, like the booing. Yeah, we're going to be booing from now on because you know what? We're done being nice. This is serious. And people in the United States, our friends, our neighbors, people we visit when we go on vacation are at risk. And we want
Yep.
society there to stay stable. We don't want a civil war. We don't want them to go into rebellion and burn down the cities, and we don't need that. So with our mouths, our keyboards, like the pen is mightier than the sword. So if we can network and get out there and talk to everybody and do what we have to do, maybe we can all stop this together. Yay.
Yeah, I
Unfortunately, I
mean,
think. Sorry.
no, it's okay. I just wanted to say, like, I really do, like, when it comes to the people that are brainwashed, there's no hope for them. They're not going to learn. They're not going to come around. They are so indoctrinated and so radicalized. They are not people that are ever going to come around. Like, they will go down with their ship as it's burning all around them. But for a lot of the people that are just not educated and just don't know what's going on, there's a ton of people right now in Canada that have no clue what's going on globally, that have no clue what's going on with US's ties to Russia, with what JD Vance said at Munich, with like, they just don't know any of it. So the more that we can let people know, those like normal kind of rational people, they're going to be like, oh, damn, now it's time to get involved. So, I'm going to let Devin speak, but then after that, I just want to kind of say my piece and then we're going to shut it down because the show is only 2 hours long for everybody that's asking in the chat if they can come up. The reason I didn't let you up is because we're going to end the show right now anyway. So Devin, go ahead.
So I think in order to facilitate this change, the people on the left, the people that typically do take action, need to be a little bit more organized in how they do it. So make things convenient for people. For example, with the Trump tariffs and stuff and buying Canadian, a lot of us should focus our energy on contacting the grocery stores and being like, hey, clearly label what is Canadian and what isn't, what is produced in Canada, what is made in Canada, and then people will probably more naturally just make that choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to get the grocery stores on board because so many of them have American funding too, don't forget, right? So, but it depends. Like, for example, like I'm pretty sure Whole Foods, right? It was bought out by Amazon.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard for some of them, but definitely the local grocery stores. And that's something that I wanted to say to everybody too, right? Like if you have the opportunity where you live in Canada, not all of us do, but if you have that opportunity of where you live in Canada to shop and support your local businesses, do it. Like, you know what I mean? If you go to Costco Canada and you want to buy meat, for example, that meat's coming from the United States. But if you go to a local butcher, if it's close and you can get Canadian product, it's obviously going to be a lot better for our economy. So do what we can, message grocery stores. Also, I think there's an app now that you can get that you literally scan products and it tells you whether it's Canadian or where it comes from. And I would say that if you see a product even from like the UK, go for it, as long as it's not American, because we are going to be looking to be trading partners with a lot of countries in the EU. So if it's from the UK, if it's from France, if it's from, Italy, whatever. Italy, maybe not so much. They kind of have a little bit of a dictator right now, but you know what I mean, right? So obviously go Canada first, but if there's something you really, really want and you can't find it Canadian, at least opt out for something from the UK rather than from the States. Did anybody want to add anything before I end the live and tell you guys about our shows for the week? Joe, Treaty?
Yeah, if I could add a closing thought. Just so everybody just be mindful and stay safe and take care of yourselves. Make sure you go outside because the more we stay connected to Mother Earth, the more compelled we will be to protect her and stand together. And please, if you see us as Indigenous people start to rise up, stand with us this time. You have to start standing with us these times. There's people still standing their ground in BC and stuff. Like, it's time to stand with us. So that's all I have to say. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Joe, do you want to add anything?
Sure. I don't think I had much of a chance. I had too much so far. I, you're absolutely right in regards to having people motivated that just don't want to do anything. They're comfortable. They have what they feel they need, even though things are changing, things are coming forward. They're like, well, I'm okay. It's not good. There's still a certain level of denialism. Like it's not going to go that bad. I'm still okay now. And it's going to take a slow conversation with people to show like, no, it is going to go, and it's going to unfortunately take a while to converse with some people, and it might be something as simple as talking to a few people now, and hopefully as you start showing people, no, we need to rise up now because there is things coming down, and by the time we all notice, and if we wait until your timeline, it'll be too late to do anything. We need to do this now. We need to make changes now, because right now we're going to see some horrible things.
Yeah. Whew. Anyway, that's ending with a heavy heart, but I feel like this is what most of our lives are going to feel like. No, it's fine. I'm just saying, like, this is just the reality of the world that we live in today. So, you're right. We have to try to come together and educate as many people as possible. And there's a lot of people that we can reach out there. Don't lose hope when you run into somebody that's been completely brainwashed. Like they still, at the end of the day, they still are a minority. I know they don't want to think they are, but they are. 77 million out of 350 million is not a majority. And also, there's a lot of people that are already regretting their votes. So let's bring it down to 60 to 50 million that are like full blown sympathizers right now with the administration. That's not a lot. They're just loud. These people are very loud, right?
And
even in
organized.
Canada, they're loud and they're organized, exactly. But they are not the majority. When most people kind of wake up and see what's going on, most people are not okay with discrimination. Most people are not okay with racism. Most people are not okay with any of that. So when people wake up, we're going to have a majority of people that don't want this regime to happen. And I'm talking regime as in like worldwide regime, because we know that right-wing propaganda and right-wing governments are being pushed everywhere in the world right now. So we just got to keep fighting, keep talking the truth, and hopefully we will prevail. And with that, part of your education is listening to Beaver Politics. And I want to talk about the shows that are coming up so that you guys know what we have on the menu. Monday night, we have Indigenous Matters with Treaty Birder up here. She's going to talk about the effects of politics on Indigenous communities and how Indigenous people can affect the political structure. So awesome live for you to check out, especially if, we want to support Indigenous communities. Super good live there to tap into and at least listen and learn. That's kind of what I do when I am able to join a Monday night. Sometimes I'm working on Monday nights, but when I do, I just sit there and listen, because there's so much to learn that we don't know about that we can be learning from Indigenous people. Tuesday, obviously, this is the show on Tuesday. You guys already know it. Wednesday, we have the Mossy Side with the Progressive Moose. He's going to be talking about the messy side of politics, doing deep dives into weekly topics. Thursday, we have two shows. We have the Navigation Station, hosted by the Missus, where it's going to be all about education, resources, and solutions to help navigate the Canadian political landscape. And then in the evening after that, we have Truth Through Discourse. So it's just weekly discussions on relevant topics, big open panel where we can all just chat about what's going on, what's super relevant that week. Friday, we have two shows again, Canadian History with the Purple Crayon, hosted by Pixie Lee, and that is Canadian history prior to Canada. So this is Canadian history that basically focuses on the BIPOC perspective. So again, super, super awesome show, really important to tune into if you want to learn about what things were like before colonization. Polititalk. Sorry, my stupid headphones here. I got to figure that out one day. Then after that, we have Polititalk. So this is hosted by Nerdy, and this is the debate. So like, if you are a conservative, if you are an American that just, had a lot of things to say in this live, you might want to join us on Friday night, because that's where we're actually prepared to debate you, and we will debate you. So if you want to get into a debate with us, by all means, come join us on Friday night. That starts at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and it usually goes like 6 hours long. So you'll be able to catch us at one point. Saturday is Breaking the Dam, hosted by Jana in the morning, where it's going to be a discussion on safe spaces, focusing on discussions in a safe space that are going to be focusing on mental health, going through tough times, learning new coping skills, increasing mental health awareness, and fighting stigmas. And that's especially important through what we're going through right now, because a lot of us are going to be struggling with our mental health with all of this bad news that's being poured in all the time, right? Then later on that day, we have Radicalized with Radical, and he's going to talk about the gray matter of politics and how religion is impacting the political atmosphere. And then Sunday, we have a brand new show. It's called A Damn Happy Life, hosted by Happy, and it's looking for a deeper perspective on how people define happiness and exploring the moments of growth throughout their lives. So that's going to be our show, and we are going to end it for tonight. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for participating. I'm super grateful to each and every single one of you. Thank you for helping us hit our live goal. And we'll see you soon. We'll see you. I'll personally see a lot of you on Thursday night, but make sure you tune in tomorrow for the Massey side. Have a good night, guys.